G'day guys, welcome to Beyond the Tape, a podcast that usually focuses on people doing rad things in the mountain bike industry in Australia. In this one though, we've taken a bit of a trip across the ocean over to Sweden. We have caught up with the head of mountain biking over at Ohlins, Terje Hansen. He has been at the company forever, so has a bunch of stories, and we only cover a few of them. Anyway, it's a great episode, so I hope you like it. Before we dive in, though, let's just thank a few sponsors and a few supporters of this podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Trek Checkpoint. The Checkpoint is designed to explore gravel and beyond the tarmac and just get out in the forest. It's more of a gravel road bike. It looks goddamn amazing, super stiff. Except for their weird little seat post thing, which is called the ISO speed. Essentially, the seat post has got enough flex and pivots throughout it to make the ride extremely comfortable. Super light carbon wheels, carbon discs, everything on it is pretty damn amazing. Now, I know this is a mountain bike podcast, but a lot of us do like skinny wheels every now and then. And this is a great way to kind of adventure into it. I'm a huge fan of gravel bikes and the way they look. So if you're looking to get one and take your fitness and your riding to another level, check out the Trek Checkpoint. It is amazing. Also try and say Trek Checkpoint 1,000 times real quick and it gets hard. Next up, we've got something a little bit different from FE Sports here. We're looking at the Adventure Medical Kit. It's a bit weird that a lot of shops don't actually carry medical kits in them. I know I've got one in my car. I'm used to crashing. I crash a lot, and it's great to have something in there to patch up yourself or patch up your mates. I actually cleaned out and dressed a wound of a mate of mine after he slipped a pedal, and it was like 10 centimeter cut through his legs. And without that, it would have just been a debacle. Best thing is they also do one for your dogs. So if you've got a trail buddy and you need something to look after them specifically, if they hurt themselves or they cut their paw, they get a bit wet, they need like a hypothermia blanket, they've got splinter and tick removers in them. They've got everything you could possibly need to help you and your pooch out. So Adventure Medical Kits, hit up FE Sports or your local bike store to grab one of those because, man, they could be life-saving. Let's also talk about the Ohlins 36 RXF M.2. That is one of my all-time favorite forks. I had it on an old bike of mine. Man, it's so easy to set up and so simple. Best thing about it is they get rid of the plastic tokens. I love spending $1,700 or more on a pair of forks and having to adjust it with a piece of plastic that resembles an old Tarzo. They have their own adjustable air chamber that changes the ramp. So you can change your ramp up in your fork by 1 or 2 PSI. Talk about dialed. That fork was super plush, supportive, and it just worked. It's set up and it worked consistently on almost every terrain. So I was pretty stoked on that. If you're going to go to all this trouble and get new stuff, you want to ride some of the best trails in Australia. So if you're heading down to Tasmania, make sure you hit up Tailored Trails. These guys take all the stress of planning a trip and getting to Tas and booking accommodation. They take that out of your hands, do it all for you, so you and up to 18 mates can go and ride. It is an absolute epic service that they provide, and I'm hoping I can get down there soon. Looks like it's snowing at Maydena at the moment, so maybe not too soon. If you're looking to strap on some stuff to your bike, whether it be a banana, a flask, tubes, tools, whatever, make sure you check out the Backcountry Research straps. Super simple, been around for ages. I don't have to do too much explanation. Threw one on a 60k ride over the weekend. Couldn't think of anything better to strap to your bike. Lead Out Sports do those guys. Franked shorts, man, I keep harping on about their pants, but their shorts are so damn comfortable, super lightweight, super thin, and stretch. Can do some mad splits in them. Well, I can't, but you probably could. They are super tough. I've crashed in a bunch. The pockets don't rip. They just damn work, and they're cheap and high value. Like, I can't recommend them enough. Dirt Surfers have been keeping the mud out of my eyes for a long time now, and I'm super stoked to be partnered with those guys because they use recycled materials in all their mud guards. So they're completely recyclable again, made out of recycled materials, really good for the nature. Crush, I've been using their bike wash for a while now, and man, it just works. It's so easy to use. Squirt it on, wipe it off, all good to go. And lastly, we've got fist gloves. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to my mate Baxter. Sorry this is dragging on so long, guys, but I just want to give a shout out to Baxter and his new Nala glove. Man, it is rad. It is the sickest glove I've ever seen. It features his dog, who is much better looking than him, riding a moto through the hills. It is rad. So jump over to fist.com.au, grab some stuff. Anyway, that's enough of me talking. Grab a beer, grab water, grab wine, grab whatever makes you happy, and enjoy this pretty in-depth episode. Is it Terje or Terje?
Terje.
Okay, nailed it.
Yeah,
straight out.
But that's why I go under TJ, because it's like way easier for people to pronounce and so on, and so that has been the name for the last, within the mountain bike industry, at least in the last couple of years. So I have to take it.
Well, so. TJ, yeah, welcome to the podcast, man. Thanks for coming on. You're a busy man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's busy times in the mountain bike industry, to say at least. We're still coming out of the pandemic, and everybody's sacrificing still with a lot of things. But yeah, once again, thanks for having me.
So for those at home that don't know, like, what is your title or position, or who are you, and brief introduction?
Yeah, I've been with Ohlins for a lot of years. I think this is my 23rd year I'm in on now, but as of right now, I got a title called MTB Racing Manager, and so on. We did a change within the company last year. From the beginning, the mountain bike department was its own, taking care of everything. And last year we split that up, and sort of sales side went into the sales side in general, and product management and R&D and concept and racing and so on. It got its own little squeezed in where we already had resources and so on within the company. So I have been over at the product management side as well, and still helping out there when it's needed, since we've been doing this for quite some time now. But the main focus right now is mountain bike racing.
That's right. You've been at the company since you're a teenager, right? Like, it's a bit of most people have this background of they're into mountain biking and they go to school and they do all this stuff and they end up in the industry, whereas you've kind of got a unique way into it.
Yeah, I'm coming in a little different path, I have to say. I've been around the company for my whole life, pretty much. Kent Ohlins started the company back in 1976. My dad, who was a factory Kawasaki motocross rider at the time, was one of the first riders to use Kent's products. And therefore, I've always been related with the company. And plus, I'm living in the same little village where the factory is and so on. So I've always had friends and so on that's working here. But then I started here. Mats Larsson, who's in charge of the MotoGP side and was in charge of motocross back in the day, he gave me a call August 1999 and said, "Hey, TJ, it's time to come home now." And before that, I'd been all over the place as a young kid, different works and so on. But I've always had a huge interest with motocross. So then I joined the company back in 99, and with focus on motocross Grand Prix. Traveling around the world, and mostly Europe, driving the truck, going to all the races, taking care of different teams and riders and so on. And also that time, my dad worked here as a test rider. So I was working very closely with him, actually, which could be pretty tough sometimes, but it was pretty cool. Yeah. So and then yeah, it was working mostly motocross, started here, and then the off-road group, which the motocross was under that umbrella, growth with snowmobiles and ATVs and side-by-sides and all kinds of different off-road vehicles. So got involved with that. Was actually involved with the Cannondale motorcycle back in the day.
Yeah, right.
And the four-wheeler. So been to the mountain bike plant in Bedford, Pennsylvania, which was kind of interesting back in the day.
Would have been.
Yeah. So, but then mountain bike came along, and that got under the off-road umbrella, and we started small. It was an exclusivity deal with Specialized only, and then it just took off from there. And I mean, mountain bike outgrew the department and got its own department, and then I got to choose, like, okay, stay with off-road motorcycles or jump on something new, which was mountain bike. So, and that was 2014, I think it was. So, and since then it's been, yeah, full on mountain bike. So I don't coming like from a specific mountain bike background, like a lot of other people within the industry. I'm probably one that's riding the least, or is all I have to say. I mean, unless it's an e-bike or something, I'm not going for a ride. Bike park I can handle, but it's not maybe my biggest passion, but I love working with it. Love working with it.
What was it like with your dad as a pro motocross racer? And I mean, was he on one of those first forks? Like Ohlins had the first inverted fork, if I'm correct.
I mean, he was coming from way back when there was twin shocks that was used in motocross, and he was with the company, and then he got more into, he was actually in charge of production for a lot of years, and then he left the company for a little bit, but then he came back until he retired. And so he's seen it all, he tested it all, even though he wasn't maybe racing with it, but he was heavily involved with a lot of R&D work back in the day. So, and that upside down fork that came along during the early 80s and so on, he was involved with the R&D work with it for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. What was it like being a kid and seeing the future pretty much in front of your eyes? Like your dad's just got these special parts on there. Yeah,
I mean, we had some cool stuff in the garage back in the days when we were kids. So that was pretty cool. And maybe that was something that brought the interest of suspension and so on. Plus, the whole family has been very related to the company. I think we had my old man working here. I was working here. My brother is still working here as a test rider for mountain bike. And now, actually, since 2 months, my daughter is working here now as the third generation Hansen coming in here. So that's it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's sad or if it's cool, but now it's a good company to work for. So
no, that's really cool. That's like unheard of in most companies, right?
Yeah.
I think if your wife came along and started working there, that might cause a bit of tension.
Then we will be in trouble. So then we'll be in trouble.
So were you ever racing or riding motorbikes competitively as well?
I was, but my dad, since he was old racer himself, he never let me ride a 65 or 85 or anything like that, because he still believed like if the interest and ambition is there, you will get good at it anyway. You can start when you're 15. I mean, today, if you're not a pro by 15 today, it's kind of over the hill, which is kind of sad. You see riders retiring when they are 24 years old. So he never let me ride any of those mini bikes. So I started riding 125 and was doing fairly okay, but just hurt myself way too much. So, and then kind of lost interest a little bit for it when you always hurt.
Yeah.
And then I came to a point. I had a first Swedish nationals 1 year. I broke my scaphoids, and then no, that's it. So then I have a cousin that was world champion in speedway.
Okay.
Which is big where you guys are from.
Oh, for sure.
He was world champion in 1990, and then I started working for him for a couple of years until he had a career-ending injury. So that was a shame, and then life took over from there, and then it met my wife, and life came, and then it was just all in from there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, as you mentioned, the kids these days in motocross, if you're not pro on like a 50cc, you got no hope, which is insane.
Yeah, it's and the problem is it's such a small percentage that succeed, but people see those young kids making their way and making money and all that, and they think they have to go down that path. And we've seen some scary examples over the years that people is taking bank loan on their houses and buying motorhomes and bikes and take the kids out of school and so on. And it's like, and then they maybe have a big crash and injuries and so on, and then it's over, and then sitting there with a big mortgage on something they don't have any use for.
Yeah.
So it's a shame.
Oh, it's 100% happened to a high school friend of mine. Was really good at moto, and then one day just his bike seized on the lip or something and completely destroyed himself, and it was done.
It seen so many examples of it. So
what it's a bummer. One thing that surprised me in a little bit of research and stuff I was doing is that you guys have been in the mountain bike development for over 10 years now, but it only seems like you've been around for five, if that.
I mean, when the mountain bike comes within the lanes, comes maybe in, how shall I say it, maybe in two blocks. Early 2000, we helped King Creek design the double barrel shock.
Yeah.
We had a collaboration there, and but we never produced anything. It was only R&D work, and they bought our services, kind of thing, to help them out. And then in 2012, I think it was, when we got approached by Specialized, because they came to us because they were going to stop making their own suspension. And Mick McAndrews and Brad Benedict back in the day thought it was still place for a third player. Plus, they still had some ideas that they want to continue with. So they approached us, and we started a little bit differently than a lot of other companies does. We started with the downhill segment, which was kind of unique as well. But that was, on the other hand, something that we can relate to fairly easy. With the technology from motocross and rally cars and so on, we can implement that into a downhill shock. And the TTX 22M, the coil shock that is still around and still very popular, came along. And that was the first production year, was 2013.
So,
yeah.
What you mentioned, like there was some similarities and some places you could come from in moto and rally and all the other things. What were some of the similarities you found in first testing, and what were the big kind of surprises that you saw, if any?
No, but it's like we could relate it quite a lot to motocross. Even though mountain bike, the difference there is that the rider is the biggest percentage waist-wise of the package. On the motocross is the other way around. Plus you have the movement from engines and chain forces in a different way than what you have on a mountain bike. But still, we could see like shock speeds and the amount of chassis control that was needed on a downhill bike. We could relate a lot to from the motocross cross side, and that's why Torkel, who was in charge of the off-road, and together with one of the engineers, was designing that TTX 22M.
So even though like there's all that centrifugal force from the motor, that there's extra weight on the motor, and the unsprung weight is different between a motor, like unsprung to sprung weight ratios are different on the both. They were still quite similar.
Yeah,
like that's pretty surprising.
Yeah, it is, but it's still a lot what the wheel is doing to the ground versus what the chassis is doing to the ground. It's like you have to separate those, but we could still relate it to other areas that we were working with. And plus the way of technology, we had at that time we had a really good motocross shock that we could take that more or less the technology we could shrink down into a mountain bike downhill shock. So
that's got to be pretty stressful for engineers, right? Like they're used to big shims and high oil volumes, and then
for sure. But it's like the prototype came out fairly quick, and it needed some changes until it was production sort of ready. And still, when it was released for production, we still had a few issues that we needed to take care of and so on. So, but as of right now, it's been around since that day, that shock, and we're still selling it. We will have an upgrade coming this year for the shock. Mostly look-wise, like different look to it a little bit, and but a few performance upgrades as well to it. So now it's a product that we're very proud of, and it's well received on the market as well.
I'm not an expert when it comes to moto or moto design or anything like that, but I assume that the shock isn't as much of a structural load-bearing item in a moto compared to especially specialized. Nothing against their bikes, but man, that yoke puts so much stress on a shock. It's insane. Was that a big design factor you guys had to take into account, or something you might have overseen from the start?
No, but it's like that's something we discovered along the way. Since we, like you were saying, we were not used to it from the motor side, but found out sometimes the hard way in the mountain bike industry that a lot of loads, especially sometimes side loads, was going into the shock. And you could see that some bikes, some brands, just eating shocks without mentioning anyone. Being very polite here.
Everything's different.
So no, but some especially when we released our air shock, we could see that it was, for some bikes and some models, it was like an extra arm of the frame that was going to take up a lot of loads, kind of thing that we haven't seen before.
Well, I think that brand is still having certain issues with all brands of shocks, and especially coils and stuff. So it's something that's definitely there.
Yeah.
Was it pretty, like you mentioned the air shock, so I'm going to bring it up anyway, but that auto sag air shock that came on Specialized, that was a real rocky start for you guys, because I remember a fair few of them having to go back. Was that pretty hard for you guys to swallow?
It was hard, but because the outer sag required certain air spring character, and was putting a lot of demand. I mean, I understand the back thought of it. I think it's great if it's working like it should, because there's a lot of people riding out there with the wrong sag. They can't even get the half decent numbers. And maybe we don't all know, but I mean, the balance of the bike is the 80% of your performance.
Mm.
Have to have that right. And there's a lot of people out there that can't really set such a fundamental thing as your sag. So if that outer sag, when it was working correct, it was giving the riders at least a half decent ride, I have to say. So, but it was very demanding, like production wise and so on, to get it going, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it for a lot of beginners, it's the number one thing that gets messed up, and just to be able to press a valve and do it was phenomenal. But unfortunately, it would have added way more seals and a lot more technology for a very simple thing, correct?
Yeah. No, but it's sometimes it can be the simple things that's working really well, but those are very rare. But like you said, the thought of it was great, but it was hard to get. Plus, the spring character you got with an outer sag was maybe not in line how the industry was going with how bikes were designed, and the trend with bigger negative chambers and so on, double tube compression chambers and so on. So that would have been hard without a sag.
Again, I'm not a moto expert. I haven't followed the scene for as long or as in depth as I have mountain biking, but it must have been pretty tricky for you guys to start realizing standards and all the changing technology in mountain bikes, because it's going crazy.
I mean, we came in at the worst time in the industry. Oh man. I mean, the industry had been what it was at 26 and 27.5 wheels, and it had been 100 axle standard for the last 20 years. And when it just exploded, 29 wheels, boost front hubs, new standards everywhere. Came from imperial shock dimensions into the metric. It's been a rocky road, rough. And then all of a sudden, now you need a 4-inch tires and 3-inch tires, and it's been 2.3 for so many years. But then it was fat bikes and all that. It was rough. So. It was rough, but
just a baptism by fire for you guys, just thrown in the deep end.
Oh man, I remember the first RXF 34 fork we released. We were really proud of it. We felt it was an amazing product and everything, but it was just cold as hell because it didn't have boost.
Yeah,
it was an amazing fork, but unfortunately, it was not. It was just, yeah. It was over before it was released, kind of thing. But it was a great fork.
So. And you can't just add 5 mil to each side and quickly reproduce everything, right? It's
no, it was rough. It was rough. But
so what was the first product? It was some fork. Your first forks were inverted for mountain bike as well, right? For downhill, if I'm correct.
Yeah, but that was just prototype racing products that we made. The very first product was the TTX 22M, and after that was the RXF 34. And then after that was the first Airshock, the STX 22 Airshock, that we had a lot of issues with due to many reasons. But in saying that, we learned a lot from it. So when we came out with the TTX Air, it's a product that we're very proud of, because there's a lot of thoughts and thinking, blood, sweat, and tears going into that product, and it's still around, and it's still very appreciative on the market.
Why was the reasoning, or do you know the reasoning of why you went away from the inverted forks for the mountain bike?
Yeah, we were working a lot with it. First of all, cost was going through the roof.
Okay.
plus we felt it got some downsides that we had a hard time to trying to solve. I mean, it was amazing, like when you had the handlebar in a straight line, going over bumps and roots and stuff. It was amazing, but we had issues with side loads. Example, when you went into corners and so on, we tried a lot of different things, but we felt that it had a little bit too much flex that we couldn't really control. So, but mostly it was due to cost. So,
I mean, if anyone's rode some of those leaf string style gravel forks or whatever, you understand pretty quickly what, like you lean into a corner and the wheel just stays straight. It's because because the axle's not supported and there's no stiffness at that lower, it just twists the wheel, right?
That arch that you have on a regular lower, it's taking care of a lot of sort of that kind of flex that you're talking about there. And we didn't have that on the upside down fork, obviously. So, and we tried a lot of different things, different hub axle sizes and different triple clamp designs and a lot of things. But no, it was time to proceed and go ahead. And then we decided to stop that. But in saying that, we learned once again from it. And sometimes it can be like that. And we started with things in racing and it stops there also. It never proceeds into production.
Is a lot of your development and research and your goals are still racing focused. So you've got the guys like Loic Bruni and the specialized team, and now you've got the union as well, like those guys. Do you have like normal people testing as well?
Yeah, I mean Ohlins, it says Ohlins Racing on the building here, and racing is our heritage and backbone kind of thing. I mean, that's how it all started, and that it still is like that. And we're trying to try things on the racing scene that if it's good enough for racing, it's good enough for average Joe Blow kind of thing, average weekend racers. And for example, when we started with the gravity guys, Loic and Finn and Miranda at that time, we were racing the first year with just a prototype front end. We bought lowers from somewhere. We bought stanchions from somewhere, and then we used our spring and damping technology on the inside, and was working with the team very closely to develop a new front downhill fork. And the result out of that is the fork that we still have around, the DH38. That was a very close development with the race team. So things like that is something we still do. I mean, you will see some interesting things on Loic's bike this season that hopefully will be implemented for the future for regular customers.
Infamous box.
Yeah, you never know.
It's just a small man with a baguette tuning his suspension for him as he rides down. That's what I reckon. Have you found any downsides to testing with races? Like Loic's bike is dialed. It is the number one dialed bike on the track. You can try and argue, but you won't convince me otherwise. But I personally don't have a mechanic sitting there with data acquisition to tune my suspension for me as well. So there's got to be a balance point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use a racer for our testing for off the market or maybe for some OEs, but with the only thing we can take from racers is maybe more like hard parts, like if this technology, and then you have to do some changes when it goes into production or something. And for that, we have, like I said, one is my brother who's here as a test rider, and he's taking care of testing more towards aftermarket and OE.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use a racer for that because he's thinking very narrowly. He's thinking what he needs to go as fast from A to B and B to C, and that's something you can't implement for anything else. But as far as sorry,
continue. That's fine.
No, but some of the technology we start with in racing and then implement it over to aftermarket in a way.
Because I mean, it's not everyone's goal to go as fast as possible on a bike. Like some people just want to have tons of grip, tons of comfort, and meander down a hill. So it's got to be hard for you guys to balance those, or does it end up being pretty similar?
No, I mean, guys like you and me, we wouldn't survive on a Loic Bruni setup. We have to go and see the dentist on Monday and put the teeth back in, obviously.
But I mean, his sag would be about right for me. I've got a few kilos on him. I reckon we'll be fine.
It's not so much spring. It's more like the damping levels these guys.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, no, but it's tough. They're hardcore.
Are they running what are some of the unique things you've seen some of the racers run that you would not see most punters use? Like, is there anything that you can recall that's just kind of mind-blowing?
I mean, damping levels and so on. I mean, spring is the same for everybody. That's due to your weight and weight of the bike, weight of the rider. That never changed. Even though a lot of people think just because you're fast, you need a lot of springs. Because what deciding the springs is the sag. And you can't use two of a heavy spring. So we are doing it a little bit differently. We're aiming for damping levels instead.
Okay.
I think the one that's using the most damping of them all, of all our athletes, is Nico Vink.
Okay.
Because big dog jumps, he's doing like crazy stuff and so on, and he's on some gnarly stuff.
He just puts a steel rod in there, right, and pretends they move.
He's running some outrageous damping. It's like a lockout, more or less. For you and me, it would be like a lockout.
But he can have that. He can take that. I'm not his bike.
No. But he's an amazing guy, though. He's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, he looks like a terror, but it seems like a really, really nice guy.
One of the nicest people in the world. He's amazing. So appreciative. We worked with him. That's one of the athletes that we have had since day one. The first one.
Yeah, wow.
So that's pretty cool. Pretty sick.
I noticed a bit of a trend. So I rode a competitor's shock a few months ago, which was from Europe, and I've seen a few other European shocks around. But then you compare it to like the Foxes and the Shrams and stuff. I know Shram's still Germany, but they've still got a US backing behind them. But they seem to use the air spring more to control the suspension, whereas Euro brands use more dampening and less spring rate to control stuff. Yeah. Is there a reasoning behind that, or is that something you've kind of noticed as well, or am I completely off the mark?
I mean, I haven't really noticed it. I know that the big two is relying quite a lot on spring to come. So, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know some companies Euro companies come from a different background, like what we are. Maybe you'd be in some other categories, like rally cars or moto or road racing or something like that. And there you work definitely more with damping levels for your needs instead of just different springs. So it can maybe something like that. So
it's going to jump around a bit here, but I just remembered I forgot to ask, when you've performed before mountain bikes and stuff, you were working with a few moto riders as well. Am I correct in that? So some pretty famous race teams and stuff when you first started for moto?
That's what I recall. Now, in the beginning there, when we started, we had a few local riders that was also doing World Cups on the mountain bike side. But then it was mostly driven by the specialized guys. Like Mike McAndrews has a huge moto background, being a factory cabin mechanic and Suzuki mechanic back in the day.
I mean, like when you were working for moto, you were working for some big names.
Yeah, when I was working for moto, yeah. Oh yeah, I worked with a lot of. One of the biggest is probably like Chad Reed, Christophe Purcell. It's been so many over the years. Mike, probably one of the last ones was Mike Alessi, but in US, which was interesting. No, but so riders have come, riders have gone over the years because I was doing moto for like 15 years.
Yeah.
So a different level.
What was it like working for like Chad Reed and those guys back in their heyday? And has that helped you work with guys like Bruni and the guys in mountain biking that are now at the top as well?
I mean, Chad never actually used Ohlins when he was racing. Okay. We just did a lot of testing with him. He did a few races with our suspension, but he was super demanding. Like he was it was long days at the test track. He was very demanding, but on the other hand, he knew what he wanted. So fair enough. And he was willing to put in the time himself. Yeah. And putting a lot of pressures on all the people around him. Mm-hmm. And I think Loic is also very demanding. He knows what he wants. He's spending a lot of time testing, him and his mechanic Jack. And Laurent, the team manager, is actually giving them quite a bit of resources to do so. So I think that's pretty cool that you see those things in mountain bike as well.
It's definitely elevated.
Yeah, and it's like which puts a lot of pressure on us because also it's blowing the most at the top, right? We have been very, very successful with the team. Everything from Finn winning the Junior World Cups to Loic winning 3 years in a row the World Champs, and then 2 overalls on that, and then out of the blue, the first year Miranda won the women's championship, and also Melanie Chapas, who was a junior woman back in the day, won the junior woman there in Canada. So we were just blown away, but that also puts a lot of pressure on you, which is good. I reckon because that keeps you a little bit on your toes, and you have to be prepared and so on. So it's good.
It's got to be helpful for you guys to have those athletes that know what they want and are willing to put the work in. Like if you're there trying to put the work in and the athlete's like, I don't really care, then you kind of get a bit over it. Whereas if you're evenly putting that work in, then it's a lot easier for you guys, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. That's how you improve. And the closer, first it is about to get everything into the ballpark kind of thing regarding the setups. And from there you make micro steps to make those improvements, because then it's like those micro steps those together can be a big change in a big change in a good direction. So, but if they're not willing to put in the work, we're not willing to put in the work. Yeah. That's for sure.
Simple. Basic work ethic. Yeah. Same for employees, same for everything, right?
Yeah. For sure.
So you start off in the mountain bike industry with this massive kind of debacle-ish, well, not massive, but a big debacle with your first air shock, and you've had a few issues and stuff. But then you go to Cairns and you have 3 world champions and you've got all these guys like just smashing it. Was it pretty, like they're pretty big polar opposites? Were you pretty blown away with everything?
At one end we have the world champion, and on the other hand we have a recall. I mean, there's kind of it can't be any more black and white than that. So, but I think it helped us to actually see that we can succeed with the success we had on the racing, and that also gave the industry a sign that we are here to stay. We're willing to put in the work that is needed to succeed. With the issues we had on the production side and with the products we had back then, I mean, it was a mess, but at the same time, we did everything in our power to fix the problems. I mean, we had people from production traveling the world, different warehouses trying to fix things. We had golden tours, spending a lot of time and money, and gave replacement shocks and forks, and trying to just make customers happy again. And not everybody got happy, but we felt with that hard work that we were doing, we came out okay, and we learned a lot from it. And you could see that in new products that, well, what we learned, the outcome of that is you can see in the new products, and they've been really good so far. Yeah. So, no, but I think it's like we had the best of both worlds, kind of, best and worst out of the two worlds. And I think with the success we had in racing, it helped us to spread a good message, even though we were having problems.
Well, you're definitely seen as that racing brand. Like, everyone sees RockShox, everyone sees Fox. They're both amazing products, but they're spec'd on so much OEM stuff, and they're just suspension, right? But then you look at Ohlins and you're like, there's like a special feeling people get when they see that
Yeah, it's like, and we see now with the more OEs we get and so on, not everybody, all customers, it doesn't matter if it's OE or aftermarket, not everybody wants Fox or RockShox. They want to have, look at Commencal, for instance, on their Supreme. They have all three brands spec'd on their bikes, which I think is pretty cool. So now
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we are starting to be considered as the third player within the industry. I mean, Fox and RockShox, I mean, they're huge. They're massive. But I mean, we are, even though we're small still, I think we're considered as number 3 in a lot of different categories, for sure.
Well, it's cool because you've kind of put a pathway there to see others. Like, in the last 3 years, we've seen an increase in brands like EXT, MRP, like Formula. The amount of different players in the game now are huge. Like, X-Fusion's been around for a while, but they've upped their game. Even SR Sun Tour has come out with shocks at work. So
but here you also have, I mean, Fox and RockShox, like we said, they're huge. You see all these small different companies popping up left and right, and they're maybe producing X amount. The production is not huge. I mean, it's just different to produce 500 shocks and 5,000 shocks. It's a huge difference, massive. I mean, the infrastructure you need to produce 5,000 shocks, or in Fox and RockShox case, where they probably produce 500,000 shocks, or something. I mean, that's a completely different league. But I mean, yes, we could see the amount of work that was needed from when we started producing here in Sweden 800,000, 1,200 shocks or something, to where we are now, and the investments and the logistics around that and headaches that comes with it. It's massive.
And like, I mean, you had the exclusivity deal with Specialized. We didn't really talk about that, but you were exclusive on Specialized for a very long time for OEM product.
Yeah.
And it seems like when you got that ran out and you started to be able to go to Common Sour, go to all these other brands that are stocking stuff, like Canyon had that bike and a few others, was also very close to when COVID hit. So that must have been a huge, huge hurdle for you guys to overcome.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when like you said, the exclusivity went away and we were able to approach other OEs, and I mean, initially they were a little bit scared, and we sent out tons of different samples to different OEs and we went testing with them. And I mean, even though they started maybe low with a limited edition or low quantities and all that, but I mean, I wouldn't say maybe overnight, but more or less. I mean, we went to some amazing numbers, I have to say, and it's still growing. And but with that, also, what we mentioned earlier, came a lot of work, not only for the mountain bike guys at the time, and but for the company in general.
Yeah,
I mean, we have two different production facilities for mountain bike products. The TTX 22M coil shock is still produced here in Sweden.
Yeah, wow.
But all other products is produced at our factory floor in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's also a challenge to have two different production sites and get everything going. And then the pandemic came along, and with the material situation as it is in the world now and so on, but hopefully we'll come out of it strong.
Are there any challenges to producing the TTX M2 in Sweden, and what's the decision making behind keeping that there?
Because we were producing it for so long here in Sweden, and we had the infrastructure for it and everything. The production was built up. Some part of production was built up around that shock. And it's not easy as you think to just move a product from one site to another, because until, you're up and running again on a different site, it's a lot of effort and manpower and money that needs to be invested in that. So there's been a decision to keep that here in Sweden.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a little bit of a trademark as well for it. Mm-hmm. It's the mountain bike product that is produced here. And since it's still a very, very, I still have to say it's attractive product, even though it has a few years on its neck now. But like I mentioned, we will still produce it here in Sweden, and we will come with an update now a little bit in a couple of months.
Like a fine wine. It's getting better with age, I think. It still looks amazing.
Exactly. No, but it's like you mentioned before with his structural designs that some bikes and has and so on, that's eating maybe shocks. You can see a lot of wearing and tearing. I think the TTX 22 is one of the only shocks that survive those bikes. Feedback that's the feedback we get from the market. So,
was it daunting going back down the OEM path again after the first one, and you go on to go work with other brands?
No, but I have to say I met so many amazing people within the industry. I mean, different product managers from different brands and so on, and they were new faces. I mean, since we were new, they could have been in the industry for 30-something years, but we were new, so we never met before. And I mean, it's been an amazing period as well to meet all these new people and learn from them, how they see things, and take that information that we learn from them into so we can, adapt to the market and their needs.
What is, I guess, with that as well, though, like it did seem like you went into everything pretty, like one day there was Specialized, and the next day there was just everyone had it.
Yeah.
Did that help with your market kind of image as well, so seeing that brands are actually using your product as OEM? Because I think that sometimes has a bigger impact than seeing like Bruni run Ohlins.
Yeah. It definitely helped us as a brand when we got out of that exclusivity deal, because we came out of a rocky time as well with Specialized, with the STX shocks and a lot of failures, and everything was really down at the moment. And we came out and we were able to work with others, and they sort of accepted our products, and they felt we have something here with the Ohlins brand, and they started speccing us on their bikes. And with that, we got approved, I have to say, within the industry a little bit. So it definitely helped us as a brand started working with other. But in saying that, having Loic Bruni has helped us a ton.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I remember, like, when was that? It was Eurobike. Was it? Yeah, it was when Loic won in Mont-Saint-Anne, which would have been 2019. I think so. It was that. At the same time, the Monday after the race, I think it was Eurobike.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and here a delegation from Ohlins comes into the Eurobike. They'd never been there before because there was no really point, since we had that exclusivity deal with Specialized. But now it was time to start selling things and go to the show there at Eurobike, and the sales guys came into the show, and like everybody was like, oh, high-fiving. Hey, you guys
right.
did a good job, kicking ass. Congratulations. And please come into the booth here. We can start talking a little bit. And so he has helped us a lot. And I think he's one of the few riders within the industry that actually selling products.
Oh, 100%. And he doesn't even sell himself on Instagram and socials as much as anyone else.
No, but he's like, we could actually relate some numbers to it as well. So
wow. Let's go into athletes and testing and stuff a little bit, because I can't sit here talking about the company all day. I want to hear some more about the athletes.
You want to have some more behind the scenes, see what's going on.
You've got two very, very unique riders, the Zwar brothers and the whole Union team. And then you've also got kind of Phil Atwell as well that's running your product still, I believe.
Yeah.
What kind of goes into your test weekends and stuff? I saw you did one with the Union a couple of months ago with those boys. What's it like? What's the process of setting up suspension and getting those guys dialed on their new products for the year?
I mean, we can take it a little bit from beginning, because so you understand why we have done what we have done, kind of thing. Just recap a little bit. We started with the Gravity guys. I mean, that went up, but we only had one team for a lot of years. For 4 years, we more or less had only one team. You could see that some more privateers, because our distributors around the world started doing a good job. Maybe they were supporting some bike shops and they had a rider and so on, and that was also doing World Cup. But then we were discussing here in-house, like, we need to broaden the brand a little bit. Because we only had one team. We need, so then at the end of last year, we started talking, and Union came to us and asked for, can we do something? And I mean, you have the Zwar brothers there, which is half where you're from and half Swedish. So it was like and they're living here in Sweden, and also Joe, the Bowman, the team manager or team owner, team manager, whatever. He has a lot of different hats. He's also living here in Sweden during 6 months of the year, Sweden, due to Hanna, his girlfriend. So they came to us, and it was like a perfect fit. And so then we start with the Swar brothers. We took them up to the, not local, but 3 hours away. We have this amazing bike park, which has a little bit of everything.
Mm.
So I started working with them. They came off the suspension that they've been using all last year, and they started with that. Then we mounted the Ohlins product. It's very important to keep it simple when you're starting with new riders like that. You can't go throwing shims left to right and be playing shim cowboy, because then we'll be just confused like crazy. Yeah. So we come with a proposal, what we think for that specific bike, Santa Cruz V10 in this case. And we had some information that we got, and we were looking at leverage ratio and anti-squat and so on, and offset on the crowns and so on. So we started with both riders. First year you were using Fox, and then they went to Ohlins, and then we were spending like 2 days with them, just doing simple things, working a lot with the balance of the bike, make sure they got the correct sag, and we tried different offset on the clamps, on the crowns, playing around with different tunes, front and back, and so on. But very, very simple. Because also, when you're starting with riders that maybe have never had that kind of support, they're kind of a little bit overwhelmed. So they're like, whoa, and it's like you have to do it step by step. And we're still doing like step by step. If we're talking like union, we're doing like, try to keep it simple and not do some crazy stuff. And unfortunately now at the first race, I mean, the Swar brothers, I maybe had a few issues mechanically, but I think also they were a little bit overwhelmed with everything that was going on. They had, I mean, they got some new factory clothes from Fox. They had Ohlins, they had the tents and flags and a lot of people. So, I mean, they were maybe a little bit overpumped, but I mean, you can only learn from it. And as long as you do that, it's fine. But then on the other hand, you had Lockie, who was doing amazing. So now it's going to be super cool to follow them this year.
The biggest impact on mountain biking race teams in the last 2 years, by far, is those guys just setting up their own team, doing things their way, and just showing that you don't need full factory backing to make it happen.
Yeah.
And it's even better when you've got Ben or Ollie, I can't remember who was it, they were sewing their own sleeve onto a random jersey just to make it work.
No, but I mean, it's a great group of guys. I mean, none of our athletes, on the other hand, we will never sign them on if they were idiots. But everyone is really appreciative. Like all our athletes, I have to say. There's no $1 million crybabies out there, I have to say. I mean, everything from Loic, Finn, Chris, down to the union guys. I mean, we have the pink bike guys on board now as well.
True. Yeah.
Plus, and then an amazing guy from Spain, Pau.
Okay.
That got left out a little bit in the cold last year when the Commercial 21 team folded. But and then we have other athletes as well. Everyone from, and that was kind of a hard one for me to understand, coming from the moto side where it's blood, sweat, and tears and huge amount of work, and so on. But working with athletes like Nico or Fabio, or which are also putting a lot of work, but in a different way. I mean, they're amazing riders, but not because they have to go as fast between A and B and B to C, like what I'm used to understand that side as well. So, it's cool. Cool.
I need my suspension to work so I could jump onto a ski chalet. What do I need to do?
And I mean, that's completely new to us as a company as well. We never worked with influencers or athletes like that. It's been a learning curve. Trust me.
I bet.
Why should we give him like 10 sets of forks? He's not going to do any races. He's just going to make videos. And Instagrams and shit. But then you talk to people, but those million views is worth this kind of money. And like, what? Okay.
Well, so I think one of his videos, I did the numbers once. I think one of his YouTube videos tops views for the whole UCI season.
Yeah. Oh, and for sure.
It makes complete sense, right?
And I mean, if we talk money wise, I mean, he's probably, if we're talking Fabio, he's probably one of the best paid riders out there in total.
Oh, 100%.
You have to lift in like mega stars like Sagan and those guys to even compete.
That's insane.
But it's been doing good. He's done an amazing job.
He's a very talented rider.
Yeah.
There's no taking away from that.
Yeah.
When you're testing, are you using data acquisition timing kit? Is speed number one? Are you going right back to the roots of Ohlins? Or are you looking at athlete confidence so that they can go fast?
It depends on, for in-house stuff, we're using, but that's only for our own purpose. We're using data acquisition. Obviously, Loic and Finn are using it, but that's together with their mechanics. And then we have access to their numbers.
Okay,
it's needed. But for a team, let's say take Union for example, they will not be ready for data acquisition or anything like that. You have to go by feel and comfort, because it's a little bit trend now within the industry, mountain bike, that data acquisition, you need it, you need more information, you need this and this. But what are you going to do with all that information if you don't know what you're looking at? I mean, you can collect so much information. So I mean, even we have specialists here at work looking at the numbers that we collecting to be able to track down certain specific things.
I remember, Troy's mechanic, he said it, I think even on a podcast, but it took him months to learn how to use like certain parts of the data acquisition to make it even worth it.
Oh yeah.
And
that's a very small segment of the track. You have to, like you were saying, you have to take out certain things on the track, maybe a section where you having some issues or something, maybe you can relate some to it. But the thing is, you have to work with it all the time. You have to know what you're looking at to even be able to get something out of it. 100%. And I think it will be very easy for people to get lost if they don't know what they're looking at.
Easy for people to get lost in suspension even without a computer.
Exactly. And I mean, they can't, like we mentioned in the beginning here, they can't even, if we're talking average riders, they can't even get their sags and click position right or spring rate right. So how you think if we blend in data acquisition, they would be us.
I don't blame the riders though. Let me say that. No. I blame the shops. Poor shop experience is
Yeah. I always blame it on the bike.
That's why I can't ride World Cups. Is my bikes.
No, exactly. Yeah. I don't have the right bike.
Yeah. Are you servicing and looking after forks and stuff throughout a World Cup as well? Are you kind of helping those guys out?
Since we have only had one team in the past, and this is the first year we have more present at the races, we have always felt also like when you're coming to a race, you should be ready. you should have done your services. You should have done your preparation. Of course, you're gonna have to do small changes, clickers, pressures, maybe a spring or something like that. But when you come to the races, you should be ready. And that's something we have tried to, when we start working with new teams and so on, we're trying to implement that's the way of how you should be working and so on. Because otherwise it will just get out of control. And why should you concentrate on something that could be done in the workshop prior to the race?
Very interesting point. Never even thought of it. Like you see the Fox videos and they got 30 forks in there waiting to be serviced. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we will never go down that road because now they have tons of riders and so on, and a lot of teams. But we feel that we're trying to also, with some riders and teams, we're trying to connect it with our distributors. Like Pink Bike, they are connected with our distributor in France a little bit because the team will be based out of Morsin.
Yeah.
When the season is up and running, and then they can work together. They can go there, get their material serviced, and because that will strengthen our distributor in that region, because they can relate. Oh, we're working also together with Pink Bike. They will lift their kind of share on their market. We're doing the same thing with the MHS in Spain, together with they take care of POW. Even though we are supporting, we're there if there's any questions or anything like that. We support them with bits and pieces also, but they take care of the Monday to Friday kind of activities. You can go, the riders or the team can go there and get their product serviced and ready for the race.
That's smart. That's really smart. What is? Well, I might ask some questions that I got from some listeners. Yeah. Where do you see, and it kind of comes off the fact of Bruni and the weird stuff he's got happening under that box, his speaker or whatever he's got under there. Where do you see shock tech in 5 years?
I think we will see more and more electronic suspension. Not so much, mainly because to give what we have touched here on point a couple of times, to give average customers a better ride. Not so much that, I mean, once you start with electronic suspension, the sky is the roof kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you can narrow that down to give riders that just want to have as good ride as possible, they don't want to fool around too much, to help them have a better ride, I think that will be the future.
They do, as long as it's done right. And there's two companies doing it at the moment. They do it from two completely different perspectives. Yeah, so it's interesting to see which one's working better. And from reviews and industry knowledge, one is definitely better than the other for most riding. So yeah, are you watching those guys closely and seeing what they're doing, or are you just focused on your own?
Sure, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the job, to see what's going on. And even though, I mean, electronic suspension is nothing new for us as a company. I mean, we started 30 years. Wayne Rainey was world champion in road racing with electronic suspension. So, and then we have it in cars, we have it on motorcycles. So, I mean, there's the natural path to take it into mountain bike as well.
Electronic suspension is not new in mountain biking either. Manar had it on his Honda bike back in the day, and it would just lock his suspension for 3 to 5 seconds. And it's nothing crazy.
No, it's nothing crazy. Nothing new. There's nothing new nowadays.
Yeah, and at my local bike shop, I can't remember the brand of the bike, but there's an old electronic suspension system in there that's powered by like D-cell batteries, and it probably does nothing, but it looks exactly the same. It looks like an old version of the AXS flight control stuff. It's insane. It's all been done before.
There you go.
Yeah. Why can't you get the RFX 38 into Oz? Because it's too popular. People keep buying it. This is an interesting one about the pricing. They ask why Ohlins is so expensive, but I don't think it is. Like, if you look at it compared to Fox these days, you're on par, if not cheaper. But
it's I just found out the other day, it can be that depending on different regions, some competitors are really cheap in US, but super expensive in Europe and the rest of the world for some reason. But we have trying to be just as expensive all over the world, if we say it that way. So it's a little bit like this, but that's something that I know that sales teams are looking into quite a bit. But that I know that's been the purpose from day one, to be on par or a little bit more expensive than, let's say, Fox.
And the most important question, one I've always kind of thought of, is why is the Ohlins color yellow? Like, is there a story behind that?
No, I don't know the story around it. But I know we started off with Yellow Springs.
Okay.
And it's always been Yellow Springs until we hit the Harley segment. It got black and chrome because otherwise you couldn't sell the product, obviously.
Harleys are only about looks, right? It's like they don't actually work. So.
And I know now other suspension companies, both on moto and mountain bike, is copying that Yellow Spring. But so I don't know if it comes from the blue and yellow Swedish flag or something like that.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
we have the blue and yellow logo is the original logo kind of thing for us. It has to be something to that.
Yeah, there we go. We'll find out one day.
Yeah.
Get to the bottom of it. Cool, man. What race are you most excited for this year for the mountain biking?
I think Worlds in Ligier will be super wild.
Yeah.
Super wild. And I hope the season comes out in a way so the World Cup will be decided in Val di Sole, the last one. It could be 2 good weekends in a row there. That will be epic.
I think it will be too. Like the racing is so close.
Oh, man. For sure, Ligier, the Worlds in Ligier with the atmosphere and all the people. And now when things have opened up, it will be crazy.
Oh, I bet. Crazy. So devastated.
And I mean, World Cup. Yeah, World Cup nowadays is almost like a French championship anyway. So, with Loic and Omri and Loris and
Troy's out injured, so he can't take it to him.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
And the level's so high now. It's so good to watch.
Oh yeah. I mean it's gonna be epic.
But the Union boys are going to be up the top as well, so that's fine.
Union boys will be there for sure. Yeah. So hopefully, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool to see the Swar brothers once they calm down a little bit and get used to things a little bit more. I think they can do really well. I have big hopes for the 2 juniors.
Yeah,
from down under, both Lockie and one's Ollie get back at the pace. I think that would be super rad. See them go.
Ollie's an animal on a bike. Very, very, very good bike rider for sure.
Yeah. Even though Goldstone, Jackson there is a hard nut to crack, but hopefully once you start see what's happening, once you start putting a little bit pressure on him, that'd be cool. So, and then we have some good girls as well.
Oh, the women's racing is next level.
Yeah, Frida and Melanie and those girls should be really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
So I have high hopes for the season.
I can't wait.
High hopes.
This 6-week break has been the worst. Sucks.
Yeah.
The UCI has been like a drug dealer. They just give you a little taste and then let you wait for 6 weeks.
Yeah, still down to the wire to get products in time.
Insane.
So yeah, it's insane. It's but Fort Williams will be cool. It's going to be cool.
I can't wait.
I know
I've got 3 questions I kind of like to finish off on. What advice would you have for anyone looking to work in the bike industry and get into a more major position, like working in a race team or marketing or product creation?
I would say if you're aiming for maybe a World Cup, be a super good mechanic, get a lot of knowledge maybe from working in a bike shop or something like that. Otherwise, working for a bike manufacturer, I mean, engineering degree coming in that way and work your way in. But I reckon a generally big interest for the sport or for the bike industry will take you a long way.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
There's a lot of passionate people in the industry. And there's a reason that they're all there. So is there anything you would change or regret doing up until now? Or is there anything you change with the work you've done?
You can't have any regrets. Yeah, I'm still taking wrong decisions, but I've always tried to learn from them. So life is too short to have any regrets.
100%.
And so you just have to continue living with it. But I think it's cool to do wrong decisions as long as you learn from it. I can accept that even from other people. But I don't have any time for people that never will learn.
Yeah.
I say to people, it's better you ask the question now for 10 seconds and maybe even though it's stupid, instead of being stupid a lifetime, you know.
That's a good way. It's good. Yeah. That's a good saying. I rate that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it pretty much.
And last question, and sometimes the hardest for people, but if you're a bit over it or a bit tired and don't want to be working on suspension or at the World Cup or something like that, what do you have any music or anything, any processes that get you amped and get you motivated to do stuff?
I mean, I've been doing this for so long. What have motivated me? No, but a huge motivation, except of winning races, that's a good motivation of putting in the hours that is needed. But surround you with good people gives you a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And people that is aiming for the same goal gives you energy. People that makes your life or work harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm too old to spend energy on that because that takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So, but apart from that, a round of golf with the boys, a few beers.
Yeah. Okay.
Spending time. I mean, I have a family with 2 kids, even though they're growing up. maybe way too fast. Daughter is 20 and I have a boy that's 18, but it gives you energy to see them progress and get their own lives and so on. And it's like, it's good kids. So you have to succeed. So that's cool. You can lean back.
Go and play more golf.
Yeah, exactly. Buy wife a horse and then I can go to the golf club with the boy. Even though I will be poor as a church rat, but I take it. I take it.
DJ's motivation and goals in life is to buy a wife a horse and play more golf. What else can we go with? Oh, that's great.
That's cool.
Easy, mate.
Will you hit Europe at any point, or
one day when I win the lottery and I get my act together and get my passport again? But next year for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm not sure what world champs is next year, but that's a goal. And
maybe do a Euro trip, traveling around. And you're more than welcome to Sweden. If you
definitely in summer. Yeah.
Not August, beginning September can be amazing. Come to Stockholm and we take you to the bike park and you can see the factory and so on. You will have a blast.
100%. Let's lock it in. I'll do it for sure.
You're more than welcome.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to go fix my passport up and get on it. Easy, mate. Well, I better let you get back to work. You got the rest of the day ahead of you.
Great talking to you. I think we touched base on everything. I think we leave it with we still have some stories left, I guess, but we take that next time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. When I'm in Stockholm, we'll do a round of golf and chat afterwards.
Hell yeah.
Easy, mate. Well, take care. Thank you so much.
You have a great day, and let me know if there's any other questions or anything, and we'll take it from there.
Easy, mate. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Have a great night. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.
There we go, guys. That was the latest episode of Beyond the Tape. Hope you guys enjoyed it and it gave you a fair bit of insight into the man himself and behind Ohlins mountain bikes. As per usual, thanks to our supporters Trek, FE Sports, NS Dynamics, Tailored Trails, Lead Out Sports, Franked, Dirt Surfers, Crush, and Fist. Without these guys, this podcast wouldn't be possible. And without you guys, this podcast wouldn't be possible because you're the guys listening to it. If you want to help out the podcast, make sure you spread the word with your mates, your mum, your dad, your dog, your llama, whatever. Jump over to the web store, buy some merch, and don't forget to support our financial supporters and head over to their web stores and grab something for your new bike. Anyway, thanks for that, and until next time, I hope you have a great one.